Hi, my name is Olivia Prowse, and I have incredibly strong and heated opinions about a fake animated cowboy. Woody is a character beloved by children and older generations alike. His character is viewed by many as strong, caring, and loyal to a fault. One of the reasons Toy Story is such a memorable franchise is because of Woody's character and Tom Hanks' portrayal of the beloved cowboy. However, when recently revisiting the Toy Story franchise, I was surprised to learn I disliked Woody's character. I remember sitting in the back of the class, having my mind blown by my realization of Woody's dictator-like style throughout the films. The Woody I had remembered growing up is not the Woody I had discussed within my analysis. He was controlling, selfish, rude, and overall, a bad friend. His actions made him seem like a villain rather than a lovable hero. For my final project, I'm going to answer the question, is Woody the true villain of the Toy Story franchise, or is he a flawed and broken hero? In the first Toy Story film, the first character we meet is Woody. The first scene in the movie is Andy and Woody playing together. This establishes Woody's special bond with Andy and his devotion to Andy throughout the films. The scene also establishes the social hierarchy of Andy's bed. Andy's bed is important because it represents power within Andy's room. Woody is Andy's favorite toy, therefore he is allowed to sleep with Andy in his bed while the other toys sleep in Andy's toy chest. This establishes Woody as superior to the other toys and allows him control over Andy's room. Woody is the one who holds the room meetings, calms everybody about Andy's birthday, and keeps the other toys in line. Woody is the leader of Andy's room, and he enjoys his position of power. This all changes, however, when Andy receives Buzz as a birthday gift. When Buzz first arrives in Andy's room, he crash lands on Andy's bed and accidentally knocks Woody off of it. This symbolizes the shift of power from Woody to Buzz as Andy's favorite toy. Buzz initially hits it off with the other toys in the room, which angers Woody. Woody writes up Buzz as a temporary situation. Soon he will be back to being Andy's favorite toy again. However, this is not the case. In the song Strange Things, Andy's room switches from cowboy stuff to space stuff. Andy begins sleeping with Buzz instead of Woody on Woody's coveted spot on the bed. Also, throughout the sequence, Buzz is seen helping the other toys in Andy's room. Buzz combs a doll's hair and teaches Rex how to roar. This establishes Buzz as a popular leader who supports community, unlike Woody who dictates what should be done and only focuses on Andy. Buzz is pro-community while Woody is anti-community. At the climactic point of the movie when Woody pushes Buzz out of the window, he claims it's for Andy. Woody is so blinded by his fear of rejection from Andy that he will do whatever it takes to be the favorite toy again. The other toys quickly turn on Woody when they suspect him of killing Buzz. The other toys turn so easily because of Woody's dictator-style ruling. The toys side with Buzz because he is a man of the people and Woody isn't. This point is also illustrated when Buzz and Woody are in Sid's room. Buzz accepts and befriends the disfigured toys in Sid's room, while Woody is terrified by their disgusting appearance and missing parts. Everything in Sid's room goes against Woody's beliefs. There is no order or hierarchy among Sid's toys. They are all equal. Woody's fear of the dismembered toys shows his fear of imperfection and rejection of individuality. Woody and the other toys in Andy's room are perfect. There are no flaws about them, and Andy plays with them fairly. This is unrealistic and not how most toys are played with. Woody rejects the imperfect toys because they're unlike him. They prove that perfection and status are not qualities needed to be played with a beloved toy. The movie ends with Buzz and Woody escaping Sid's room by working together. Is because 1. The other toys would think of him as a murderer if he didn't. The reason why Woody helps Buzz escape is because 1. The other toys would think of him as a murderer if he didn't bring Buzz back. And 2. Andy would be disappointed if Buzz was lost forever. This returns to the theme of Woody's motives only being for Andy and himself. Toy Story 2 is the film in the franchise where I think Woody shows most of his flaws and inappropriate behavior. The second film centers around Woody's kidnapping. The film starts with Woody frantically searching for his hat before he and Andy leave for cowboy camp. Woody's hat seems to be an extension of Andy. Woody and Andy always wear their hats when playing together. When Woody loses his hat, he feels distraught because his hat is something that him and Andy both share. Woody feels lost without his hat, therefore he feels lost without Andy. Woody going to cowboy camp is another example of privilege. Woody holds within Andy. None of the other toys get to go, only Woody. Even though Andy is growing up, Woody is still a special toy to him and therefore receives special privileges. When Woody's arm is ripped off, he is no longer allowed to go to cowboy camp with Andy. He is placed on the shelf hidden from the other toys. Woody's arm being ripped off further cements Woody's fear of imperfection and his fear of losing Andy. This sparks Woody's terrible nightmare about Andy throwing him into the trash. Because Woody is broken, he no longer has value to Andy anymore. Losing Andy is Woody's biggest fear, and he will do anything to please him. This brings us to Woody's rescue of Wheezy. Wheezy's rescue rubbed me the wrong way because Woody only rescues Wheezy because of Andy. When Woody finds Wheezy on the shelf, he states how Andy was so upset when Wheezy went missing. Woody is supposed to be empathetic in this scene, yet he continues to mirror his decision-making through Andy. Also, the rescue of Wheezy would make Woody seem like a hero to the other toys and give him recognition within Andy's room. This fulfills Woody's ego as a dictator. When the plan backfires and Woody is almost sold at the yard sale, Andy's mom steps in to save Woody. This is another example of Woody's privilege as the favorite toy. Andy's mom knows Woody is Andy's favorite toy, therefore he is valuable to her, unlike Wheezy. After Woody's kidnapping by Al, Buzz leads the rest of the toys in Andy's room on a rescue to save Woody. This is another example of Buzz as a popular leader and not as a dictator. Buzz leads the investigation out of fear of losing his friend, Woody. If the roles had been reversed, Woody would have rescued Buzz because Andy would have been upset if Buzz went missing, rather than his friendship with Buzz. When Woody first meets the Roundup Gang, he is shocked to learn that he is a pop culture icon. Woody is shown a shrine of himself and his old television days. The recognition and fame inflates Woody's ego and makes him question returning back to Andy in favor of fame and glory. However, he ultimately decides to go back to Andy because Andy is his owner and Andy would be extremely distraught without him. When the gang comes to rescue Woody, Woody tries to convince Jessie and Bullseye to return home with him. He also emotionally guilts Jessie into coming by stating it'll just be like Emily again. He uses her emotional trauma against her. He says Andy will fall in love with her just like Emily. This is false because 1. Woody is the only one with that connection with Andy, and 2. It promotes the false narrative that toys need to be owned in order to be loved, which is debunked in the 4th film. The movie ends with Woody making a display on top of Andy's bed to welcome him home from cowboy camp. Woody is once again on Andy's bed, resuming his position of power and creating a sign to show his love to Andy. Toy Story 3 begins with a time jump where Andy is ready to leave for college. Woody, Buzz, and the gang have been neglected for several years in Andy's toy chest. Woody longs to play with Andy once again, back to the days where he felt like he was alive. Woody and the gang stage a plot for Andy to open the toy chest so they can be played with once more. Woody feels as though he lost his connection with Andy and will do anything to get it back. When Andy is cleaning his room to go to college, he places Woody in the college box, while the rest of the toys go into the attic box. This establishes Woody as still having a position of privilege compared to the other toys. Woody is still special to Andy, therefore he gets to go to college. When the other toys are accidentally placed into the garbage by Andy's mom, Jessie convinces everyone to escape to the daycare, Sunnyside. Once at Sunnyside, the toys are welcomed with open arms. Sunnyside represents the idealist, socialist society. Everyone is equal, everyone is played with, and there is always new children, so no one is left behind or abandoned. Woody immediately rejects Sunnyside and wants to return to Andy. Woody rejects Sunnyside because there is no longer an order of hierarchy, and he will no longer be connected with Andy. Unlike Woody, Buzz accepts Sunnyside and states that the change will benefit all the toys from Andy's room and not just Woody. This reinforces Buzz as a popular leader and Woody's role as a dictator, as well as Woody's rejection of community. Soon after, Woody escapes Sunnyside in favor of Andy over his friends. Woody desires his relationship with Andy over his relationship with the other toys. While escaping Sunnyside, Woody loses his hat. Woody losing his hat symbolizes Woody's separation from Andy. immediately after losing his hat and gets to go home with her. Because Woody is finally separated from Andy, he can now belong with Bonnie. Once at Bonnie's house, Woody has the time of his life with Bonnie. Woody, for the first time in several years, is generally played with and respected. Even though Woody is enjoying his time with Bonnie, he still can't stop thinking about Andy. Andy is all grown up, but Woody is still not ready to let him go. Woody vows to return to Andy and save his friends from Sunnyside. The main antagonist in the movie is Lotso. Lotso is the strawberry bear that runs the Sunnyside daycare. It is revealed to Buzz and the gang that Lotso is a dictator of Sunnyside rather than a generous socialist leader. Lotso imprisons toys, dictates who plays with who, and emotionally manipulates the toys at Sunnyside. Lotso's character can be easily compared to Woody's character. They both have dictator-like tendencies and have power over other toys and have strong beliefs because of their owners. In Lotso's backstory, we learn that Lotso was abandoned and replaced by his owner, Daisy. Lotso and Daisy have a similar relationship to Woody and Andy. Lotso was Daisy's favorite toy and thought he'd be with Daisy forever. When Daisy replaces Lotso, he turns evil and vows to never fall in love again. This brings into question, would Woody have turned into Lotso if Andy had abandoned him? Woody and Lotso have very similar characteristics and connection with their owners. It is very plausible that Woody could have gone to the dark path if he had been rejected by Andy. One of Woody's main fears is Andy's rejection of him. Andy's supposed rejection has made Woody do crazy things before. It's understandable if he'd go berserk. However, I think what separates Woody from Lotso and is Woody's saving grace within the films is the ending of the third film. When Woody and the gang escape Sunnyside and return to Andy's room, Woody places himself in a box going to Bonnie rather than the box going to college with Andy. Woody for the first time chooses his friends over Andy. For me, this symbolizes Woody's growth as a character and his decision to move on from Andy. When Andy drops off the toys with Bonnie, he is hesitant to give Woody away. Woody still holds a special place in Andy's heart, yet Andy ultimately decides to give Woody away. Andy has matured and finally accepts to leave his childhood behind. Andy no longer needs Woody and decides Woody would be beneficial to Bonnie. As Andy drives away, Woody sits on the porch and watches his chapter close with Andy. In the end, Woody chooses his friendship over Andy and grows as a character. When I first heard about Toy Story 4, I wasn't happy about there being another film. I thought Toy Story 3 ended on a great spot and there was no longer a need to continue the story. However, upon watching the film, I was proven wrong. The last film of the franchise centers around finishing Woody's character arc, and I think it's what truly saves Woody as a character. While the other toys were happy with their new life with Bonnie, Woody was not so much. The film starts with Woody struggling to adapt with his new life with Bonnie. Woody no longer being the favorite toy is a hard pill for him to swallow. Woody is always left in the closet while the other toys are played with. Woody constantly undermines Dolly's authority as room leader and can't accept his new position as a regular toy. He even calls Bonnie Andy at one point, showing that he hasn't gotten over Andy growing up. He escapes to kindergarten with Bonnie to prove that he can still be an important toy to his owner. When Bonnie brings home Forky, Woody makes it his mission to have Forky accept his role as Bonnie's favorite toy. Woody wants Forky to have the same experience he had when he was the favorite toy. He remembers how special it was and longs for that connection again. His quest with Forky gives him new purpose as he vicariously lives through Bonnie's and Forky's connection. Woody even sleeps with Forky on Bonnie's bed, even though he isn't allowed to because Woody isn't the favorite toy. Woody on the bed represents the old days with Andy and the power Woody used to hold within Andy's room. Woody misses the days where he felt important. When Forky and Woody are lost on Bonnie's road trip, Woody chooses to investigate Bo Peep's lamp at the antique shop rather than immediately returning to Bonnie. If Andy had still been Woody's owner, he would have gotten back to Andy as fast as he could. This shows that Woody doesn't hold the same regard for Bonnie as he did for Andy. When Woody reunites with Bo Peep, he is in for a rude awakening. Bo Peep frankly calls out Woody on his bullshit and states that he is crazy for still being hung up over Andy. Woody's time with Bo Peep teaches him that individuality and independence aren't bad things, but something to be celebrated. When Bo Peep loses her arm and takes it back on, Woody is initially horrified. But he quickly learns that Bo Peep's arm isn't something to be afraid of. Her arm makes her stronger as a person. This ultimately allows Woody to overcome his fear of imperfection and accept himself as he truly is. Woody's journey with Bo Peep teaches him independence and gives him courage to move on from Andy. Woody gives away his voice box to Gabby Gabby and his hat to Jessie, the last two remaining connections to Andy. This symbolizes Woody finally being able to let go of Andy and move forward with his life. The film ends with Woody deciding to leave Bonnie behind and become an independent toy. Woody leaving Bonnie was the best decision for him and allowed him to complete his character arc. This perfectly ends Woody's journey and the franchise as a whole. In conclusion, I don't believe Woody is the villain of the Toy Story films. Over the course of the films, specifically the last one, Woody grows as a character and learns to be a better person. Woody was so controlled by his relationship with Andy that it caused him to make horrible decisions and be a bad person. When Woody is finally able to be free from his ownership of Andy, he is finally able to be a better person and become the true hero he always saw himself as. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.